Ladies and gentlemen, the plenary session starts now.
Hello, everyone, colleagues. My name is Yukio Lippit from Harvard University, and it is my distinct pleasure and privilege to welcome you to this plenary session titled Asian Art Museums and Collections in the World at ICOM Kyoto 2019. We have, I think, a very meaningful session planned that I'm very excited about with world-class experts that will discuss the panel theme, which might be described as follows. With the growing number of ICOM members from Asian countries, this occasion for the hosting of ICOM in an Asian country, only the third time ever, provides the ideal chance to consider the significance of Asian art museums and collections, how they might better connect to local and foreign audiences, and how they might benefit by coordinating with international colleagues around the world in the future. This session also considers the various case studies in Asian art, examining recent moves to promote deeper understanding of Asian art in museums around the world. Now, before we begin, I'd like to just say a few words about what we mean by Asia in this panel, because the word Asia, as you're well aware, can be defined in many ways, and historically it has been done so. In the contemporary world, Asia is a toponym that tends to designate different parts of the world. But I think it's safe to say that for this panel, we are dealing primarily with East Asia. That is to say, primarily the region associated with East Asia, China, Korea, and Japan. But there are important reasons for doing this, because there are certain commonalities to these artistic traditions with a common basis rooted in Confucianism and Buddhism, a common substrate of materiality. The material profiles of artworks from these regions tend to consist of fragile materials, silk and paper, display practices that historically are similar, silk textiles and lacquerware, and so forth. But that said, I think we are more than happy to open up during the discussion session to issues that would pertain to artistic traditions elsewhere in Asia, South Asia, and so forth. Now, I'd also like to say that it's worth mentioning at the outset of this panel that museums are currently flourishing in Asia. Currently in Japan alone, there are over 6,000 museums in the National Association for Museums, and that museum practice is flourishing in Japan, Korea, China, and elsewhere in the regions associated with East Asia. And I think the ICOM community at large has a lot to learn from what is happening in the Asian museum world. We would like to also use this panel as an occasion to use sets of issues associated with Asian museums and Asian art collections to inform broader issues of interest to the ICOM community, issues that will be discussed in this conference as a whole, including museums as cultural hubs, sustainability, disaster relief, and so forth. So this is a unique opportunity for us to really raise the visibility of issues associated with Asian art collections and Asian art museums around the world. And these are very large, ambitious themes, but fortunately, we have a panel of world-class experts that will address them. So what I will do is I will introduce our speakers now, all four of them, before we ask them to come to the podium. Our first speaker is Dr. Christoph Lind, who is director of the Reiss-Engelhorn Museum in Mannheim, Germany, who is very well positioned to talk about these issues because he has an MA in art history, Japanology, and Sinology, and a PhD in art history, and has actually curated a number of different shows over his professional career pertaining specifically to China. He's curated many other works, but specifically with regard to China, on Chinese painting and architecture and so forth. So we are looking forward very much to hearing from him. Our next speaker is Professor Kawai Masatomo, the director of the Chiba City Museum, who is also a now retired but longtime professor at Keio University, who is a distinguished scholar of medieval Japanese ink painting with a large list of publications to his name. He has served as the director of the Chiba City Museum since 2012. Then we will hear from Dr. Min-jung Kim, who is curator of Asian art and design at the Powerhouse Museum in Sydney, also known as the Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences, or MASS. Dr. Kim was born and educated in South Korea and attained her Master's of Arts in Curatorial and Museum Studies at University of Sydney before moving to the Powerhouse Museum, where she has worked for the past 12 years, and she has a wide range of experiences curating shows not just on Korean art, but Asian art in general there. And finally, we'll hear from Dr. Anne Nishimura-Morse, who is curator, William and Helen Pound's senior curator of Japanese art at the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, where she has a long and distinguished record of both publications and exhibitions organized. I can only name a few here, including Japanese photographers respond to the 3/11 disaster of 2011. That was curated in 2015. And the Takashi Murakami Lineage of Eccentrics show, curated in 2017. She serves currently as the co-chair of the Arts Dialog Committee of the US-Japan Conference on Cultural and Educational Interchange, or CULCON, which you will hear more about during her presentation. So without further ado, I'd like you to join me in welcoming Dr. Christoph Lind to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It is a pleasure to just, as the chair of the International Committee for the Fine Arts, to say some words about the world of fine arts that's together in the International Committee, ICFA. When ICFA was founded in 1980, so we are almost 40 years old right now. When ICFA was founded in 1980, it was not about to be focused on Western art. It was about the collections and the museum of all fine arts worldwide. For a couple of reasons, ICFA was just more concentrating on the Western arts for many, many years. And one aspect might have been that Asian art in Western collections did not always find its way into the art collections rather than the ethnological collections. That has changed in the recent years, and this was sufficient reason for ICFA just to open more and more up for fine arts from all over the world to be integrated into the issues, into the working fields of our committee. The last 2 days have signed very, very clearly, in a very pleasant way, that the communication between the fine arts of the world are very fruitful and just give every single participant a huge, huge, huge impact and an idea of what we can do with the fine arts in storage, in the collections, in the display, and in the way how to put it into the museum, how to put it right in a change for a huge and very diverse and international public. I'm very happy for the opportunity that we had a huge Japanese audience in these days, which was very, very open, very interesting for this kind of mutual interchange, communication between these cultures, between these fine arts. ICFA is about to provide a platform, to provide a roof for all these fine arts, and this step right now here in Kyoto was well, the first firework that we started, and we're not finished yet. We have another session together with ICDAT and GLAS this afternoon. But I would like to pronounce that we are just leaning forward. We're going ahead in this issue, and we want to integrate much more of that on our next meeting next year, which is going to take place in Richmond, Virginia, in the United States, in the Virginia Museum of Fine Arts, which is a house that houses Western art as well as Asian art, as well as art from South America, as art from Africa, and from the African-American art as well. This is an ideal ideal situation just to learn and to explore the interaction, the discussion between the fine arts worldwide. And this is going to be the ICFOCOR for the next at least 2 terms. I'm happy for this wonderful beginning here in Kyoto. I'm happy for the invitation here in order to explore this situation right now. And I think we are leaning forward, and this Eastern art, whatever that means, we just call that Eastern art because, or Asian art. Professor Lippit has just mentioned the impact of this categorization. Asian art covers all Asia. I invite every single collector, museum and collector from Asian fine arts to join us and to contribute and to recreate and to rebuild and enlarge our platform. Thank you very much.
ご紹介いただきました千葉市美術館の河合です。ちょっと依頼がありまして、お引き受けしたんですけども、小さなテーマ、私は小さなテーマをお話しすることになってしまうんで、ちょっとこの雰囲気に、驚いてます。しかし役目を果たさなくちゃいけないので、お話を始めたいと思います。日本美術の特徴という言葉を使いました。その特徴を知るために、作品の鑑賞という視点を据えまして、そしてさらに、その作品を実際にどのように取り扱ったらいいのか、そういう留意点について及びたいと思います。歴史的な日本の美術の状況を振り返りながら、その視点をお話したいと思います。ここにお出ししている作品、これは12世紀の「源氏物語」という有名な作品ですが、日本においてはですね、9世紀ぐらいの物語の中に部屋を整えるということで、しつらいという言葉が出てきます。これはちょっと汚い写真なので、複製のところをご覧に入れますけれども、9世紀の末から10世紀にできた竹取物語に、妻を迎える貴族が妻のために部屋を整えるということ、それをしつらいというふうに言っております。これは「源氏物語」の一場面ですが、自分の娘を婿にしたいという天皇がですね、薫という貴公子を呼んで囲碁をしているところですけれども、ここには屏風、襖絵、その他にですね、棚とかですね、机とか、その机や棚の上にはさまざまな調度品、文房具、そういうものが並んでおります。これは蒔絵です。昨日のご発表で、ラッカーウェアのことを漆というふうに、表現された発表者がいましたが、これは私ども日本 工芸会、伝統工芸の人たちは、そういう日本語にしてくださるんだったらば、ぜひ蒔絵という言葉を使ってほしいと、世界中に蒔絵という言葉を一つのタームに使っていただきたいと思っています。漆に関心のある方、蒔絵というのが日本の特色です。漆には蒔絵のほかに彫漆という技術がありますけれども、日本は主として蒔絵です。中国は彫漆です。さて、このようなお話をしていると時間がなくなりますので進めたいと思います。出題という言い方が室町時代になりますと字が変わりまして、こういう字になるんです。この字になるんです。ここには規則性とかオフィシャルな意味合いが含まれていまして、貴人を迎えるフォーマルな空間のものを飾る時の一つの規則です。ごめんなさい、規則に関して書き残された記録がございまして、これが君大観早朝記という中国のさまざまな文物を日本に将来されたものをどのように室内に飾るかということが書かれておりまして、これは座敷の次第というふうに、ちょっと下手な英語で書いてありますけども、正しい翻訳になっているか分かりません。下はお花ですね、角の場合、文波という人が書いた記録ですけれども、さまざまな調度品のほかに、掛物ですね、絵、そういうものも並べ方がしてあります。先ほど出した建物はこの近くにあります自称寺というところの東宮堂と今呼ばれていますが、足利将軍の義政が建てた時は阿弥陀さんをお祭りするお堂でした。でそこに将軍のための書院、つまりスタディルームがあるわけですけども、そこにこのようにさまざまな文房具を並べるわけです。先にですねお話しすべきだったんですがちょっと忘れまして、お話ししますけれども、実はですね日本の美術の一つの特色というものを申し上げるとすると、ヨーロッパや中国と比較したときですね、日本の美術には記念性とか永遠性とか完結性というものが乏しい。あまりそのことを重視して芸術作品を作ろうとしていない、あるいはそういうものに対して鑑賞者は期待していないという特色があるということをまずお考えになっていただきたいと思います。したがって日本の美術作品はごく簡単に言えば一つの独立した作品をそこに置く、備える、そこにセットするということではなくてですね、複数の作品を組み合わせ、いわばアンサンブルのような形でその美の完成や改めて鑑賞者が新しく美の創造をするという、そこに日本美術の特色がございます。言い換えますと、制作者とは別に鑑賞者による美の創造というものが期待され、それを重視し、日本美術の持つ一つの重要な性格として形成していったということを私は指摘しておきたいと思います。茶の湯というものがございますが、茶の湯における美意識はまさにそのことを端的に伝え、現代に伝えている一つのケースであります。茶の湯においては道具の飾りという取り合わせということをしております。これが根津美術館というところにある茶室なんですけども、こういうもんですね。 茶の湯をするためのさまざまな道具があります。掛け軸があります。そこに、花があります。これは室町時代の座敷飾りの復元してみたケースですけど、この伝統が茶の湯に伝えられているわけです。茶の湯のことが分かるのが16世紀の後半に、大阪の堺の豪商の天王寺屋という家の人がですね、残した記録がございます。こんなノートがあるんです。大体海外に対するディスクリプション、記述があるんですが、その後にですね、こういう表具と申しますけれども、マウンティングの部分に対する記述がたくさんございます。あれこれじゃないのか。これはパワーポイントと、これでやればいいのかな。そうだ、ごめんなさい。こういうことですね。ここにですね、表紙と書いてあるのが表具のことです。そして表具のこういうところに、こういう、これは一文字とか、これ中回しとか言うんですけど、こういうその切れの模様まで非常に丁寧に書かれているんですね。ここに書かれています。これなどもそうです。これは根津美術館にある南宋の木家ムーチーの作品でここに記述がございますけれども、茶の湯の別の玉環という木家と同時に活躍した人の作品の有名な波の絵がありますが、そこにはですね、ここに表具のことが書かれている他にですね、軸がですね、ここ軸はバチ型の象牙だというふうに書いてあるんです。ここ軸ですね。そういう軸までですね、きちっと記述して、これを一つの美意識として完成させたということです。さらにですね、これはあんまり、日本以外にはないと思いますけれども、このようにですね、これは雪舟の絵ですけれども、雪舟の絵に対してこれだけいろいろな付属品が入ってまして、ここにこの作品を鑑賞した人の美学が伝えられているわけです。これを含めてですね、日本の美術を鑑賞しないと日本美術の特色がわからないという、そういうことになっております。まだ時間大丈夫ですか？大丈夫？もう時間ですか？もうなりました？もうそう。これもそうです。これは現在三の森肖像館にあって、これはそのままの記述が書かれていますけども、ここでも、表紙、そして、この作品についてはやっぱり象牙の軸だと書いてあるんですね。さてですね、時間がございますので、展示方法についてちょっと触れておきたいと思います。実はこの展示はですね、つい、先日終わりまして、私もコーキュレーターをしておりました、ワシントンのナショナルギャラリーで行われた日本の動物園という展覧会なんです。で、この展示をしたのはですね、私の友人で、一緒にコーキュレーターをいたしました去る大きな美術館の学芸ですが、彼はこういうふうに並べたわけです。これでは日本の美術が特色がよくわからない、いかがでしょうか。日本の方はわかるのかもしれない、日本の美術に触れてる方はわかるのかもしれませんけど、こういう並べ方をするんです。これは西洋人がしたわけですけれども、日本でもないとは言えません。日本の美術館でもないとも思えないので、一言触れたいと思います。これは私の友達の、写真家の 杉本博がですね、私の美術館の千葉市美術館で、開催しました展覧会のインスタレーションなんです。で、この作品は日本的なインスタレーションになっているわけです。つまり日本の美術はこのように並べないと一つの総合的なアンサンブルが成立しないということです。もう一度この作品もワシントンで並べました。こういうところがですね、日本美術の特色でありまして、その辺のご理解と、そして、現在触れませんでしたけれども、作品の取り扱い方、日本の作品というのは短い期間を展示して繰り返し表具をしながら50年100年というスパンで保存の表具を修理をしながら伝えていくわけです。そして7世紀ぐらいのものも人から人の手へと伝えられて、現在我々はその作品を維持しているわけです。外国に行きますと展示替えということを理解していただかないことが多いんですけども、この展示替えをして命を少しずつ流れていかなきゃいけないです。6ヶ月1年並べたら3年並べないっていうんでは不動にならないんです、日本の美術の場合は。要するに私のような老人がですね、今ここに出てきているから元気なんです。もしうちの中にずっといたら多分もっと早く死んでると思うんですね。そういうもんなんです。日本の美術っていうのはそういうもんなんです。ぜひその辺をご理解いただきたいと思いますし、あと時間になったと思いますので、あとはディスカッションのところで、補足したいと思います。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor and privilege to be part of this important discussion, and thanks for ICOM Kyoto for inviting me. I'm going to talk about two different topics. I will introduce Korean art workshop for curators from around the world, as this is a good model for building international network for Asian art curators. I'll also talk about my experience as an Asian-born curator working in a Western museum, and share with you a case study how I interpreted Sydney's Museum of Applied Arts and Sciences Asian collection. Our museum is better known as a Powerhouse Museum. The Korean art workshop for overseas museum curators have been held from 1999 until 2017. Organized by the Korea Foundation in South Korea, these annual workshops allowed curators working with the Korean collections around the world to learn about aspects of Korean arts and culture in depth. The program consisted of intensive lectures as well as field trips to relevant sites. Usually co-hosted with other institutions, each year had different themes, and host museums usually had special exhibitions relevant to the theme. The exhibition that I curated, Spirit of Changin, Treasures of Korean Metal Craft, held in Australia in 2011. Changin is a Korean word for craftsman, and objects were on loan from the National Museum of Korea. This was very much influenced by one of the workshops that I attended, Korean Buddhist Arts, in 2010, because many metal craft objects are religious items in Korea. A significant aspect of the workshop was the opportunity to meet with East Asian art curators from around the world, with over 40 curators attending from museums across North America, Europe, Asia, Australia. The workshop provided a valuable opportunity to hear about and discuss ideas and projects that the curatorial colleagues are working on in museums. The majority of them were curators of Japanese and Chinese art, overseeing Korean collections. So it was an invaluable opportunity to discuss not only Korean art, but Japanese and Chinese art as well. For me, it was always a wonderful opportunity to meet curators of Japanese and Chinese art, and this network has been an extremely helpful research source for my curatorial practice in Australia. These curatorial colleagues are now strongly connected in social media. We often exchange our knowledge, up-to-date research findings, and new projects. Another significant program which might be useful to mention is research surveys of Korean collections outside of Korea, undertaken by the National Research Institute of Cultural Heritage in South Korea. Since 1992, they have compiled data on Korean art collection around the world and supported research resources and publications. And this is an example of publications of a Korean collection at the Tokyo National Museum and the Brooklyn Museum in New York. This project, too, has been an excellent way to share knowledge on Korean art around the world. As a result, the National Museum of Korea included links to 39 museums around the world to share Korean collections in their website. Now, I'm going to talk about my second topic. Unlike much of published research, this topic tends to be intimately linked with my personal development as an Asian-Australian curator. As an Asian-born curator working in an Australian museum, transcultural interpretation has been integral to my daily curatorial practice. In museology, many have argued that European views have been dominated museum presentation in Western countries, and often colonial ways of singing have decontextualized other cultures in museum presentation. As Asian myself, I was very much aware of this cultural issue and have endeavored to address it in my curatorial practice in Australia. However, I still face dilemmas from time to time, as a colonial view of Asia was deeply embedded in the early collection of the museum. We have significant pieces, including a Chinese blue and white porcelain dish from the early Ming Dynasty, Cineba lacquer box and blue altar jar from the Chinese Qing Dynasty, and Sino-Tibetan Hindu figures from the 1400s. However, the majority of the collection initially did not seem to have a consistency in terms of Asian art historical lineage, no clear logic of the collection as a whole. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about how I tackled this issue using a case study of an exhibition, Reflections of Asia, Collectors and Collections, which I curated last year. The museum originated from the Sydney International Exhibition in 1879. For many years, I have reflected in my curatorial practice on the nature of the museum's Asian collection. This is a Japanese exhibition at the time. To the eye of an Asian-born curator, the collection felt somehow foreign because it was so different from the collections that I viewed in museums in Japan, China, and Korea. I concluded that this is essentially a result of being collected through a European-Australian lens. For example, this large bronze incense burner, which was made during the Japanese Meiji period, is elaborately decorated with many motifs that are unusual in the Japanese domestic context. My awareness of this issue has led to a new way of looking at the collection as a hybrid rather than as a representation of a traditional mainstream Asian art. In fact, The majority of the collection serves as an enduring record of Western fascination with Asia and its profound influences on Western aesthetics, technology, and design. My exhibition represented examples of Asian influences on the development of Western art and culture as well, including porcelain productions, silk trade. This looks like a kimono, but it was provenance to King George IV in England. And European imitation of Asian lacquerware called Japanning. With this concept and the museum's collection diversity, I was able to highlight the nature of the museum's Asian collection with many objects on display for the first time. The exhibition playfully celebrated exoticism by reversing imposed exotic views of East to the West. The Lolita dress showed how people in the East romanticized the exotic West. This popular Japanese kawaii street style was inspired by Victorian England and much admired by Japanese for its fantasy of exotic West. I wrote on the museum's website, exoticism is not a negative concept, but rather a simple recognition of otherness involving distances in time as well as place. It was and is my curatorial intention to invite visitors to the celebration of exoticism of both East and West through hybrid culture and museum collections, and to witness changes in technology and design that were the result of mutual admiration. The exhibition aimed not to impose a negative view of colonial exotic. Rather, it celebrated exchange of culture, highlighting new and hybrid cultural objects in the museum's collection. I hope that this case study demonstrates that sometimes cultural clash becomes cultural enrichment, and that new perspectives can emerge through challenging established views and utilizing creative approaches and thinking. That way, objects with the traditional narratives can be reinterpreted and new ideas and new ways of thinking introduced for the future. Thank you.
Good morning. It is a true honor for me to be able to report on the work of the Arts Dialog Committee of Kolkan, something I'll mention a little bit more about later, which I currently co-chair with Shimatani Hiroyuki, the director of the Kyushu National Museum. And I'd also like to express my appreciation to the ICOM committee, who has worked tirelessly to make sure that participants here will not only have successful meetings, but also have meaningful experiences that introduce them to the culture of Japan. Art has always served as an effective ambassador for Japan to the global community. During the 1960s and 1970s, Japan announced its revitalization through major international events, such as the 1964 Tokyo the Olympics and the Expo 70 in Osaka. Like the 1876 Centennial Exposition in Philadelphia, these international events attracted a new generation of enthusiasts of Japanese culture. Although the 10 years preceding the 1964 Olympics, there had been only 13 exhibitions of Japanese art in museums throughout the United States. In the 10 years that followed, there were 41 exhibitions in US institutions. Similarly, the field of Japanese art witnessed tremendous growth during the late 1960s and 1970s in the numbers of students who were drawn to careers as professionals in Japanese art. The announcement of the 2020 Tokyo Olympics provided an opportunity for the Arts Dialog Committee, a working group under the U.S.-Japan Conference on Culture and Educational Interchange, CULCON, to assess the state of Japanese art as it is practiced in the museum context. The Arts Dialogues Committee, or the ADC, had been tasked by the U.S. and Japanese governments in 2010, specifically to examine the state of artistic exchange between the two countries, to identify any obstacles, and to explore new areas of cooperation. Although the presentation of Japanese art in museum context was clearly thriving in 2010, looking ahead to 2020 for the Olympic year, it soon became clear that our field needed to make succession plans. We projected that by the time of the Tokyo Olympics, over 75% of specialists of Japanese art would be of retirement age. While we are a passionate and extremely hardy group, a new generation of curators needed to be trained and supported. The ADC identified as critical the revitalization of a highly effective program formerly called the International Workshop on Japanese Art History, affectionately known as JAWS. Established in 1987 by a committee of eminent Japanese and U.S. art historians, including my fellow panelist, Professor Kawai, the JAWS program brought graduate students together for over a week to give presentations and to participate in workshops and field trips. The fundamental concept was to share time and forge connections, and to this day, generations of former graduate students identify themselves by their JAWS class. Although the program had been held 9 times and over the years sustained over 240 participants, due to a lack of funding, the program had been suspended after 2006. However, the Arts Dialogue Committee championed its revival, and since that time, there have been 2 JAWS, one in 2012 that was organized by Tokyo University of the Arts, and one in 2017 organized by Harvard University and the Museum of Fine Arts, Boston. And we hope that there will be one taking place as scheduled in 2020 here in Japan. Building on these efforts to develop the next generation of Japanese specialists and to ensure the continued vitality of the presentation of Japanese art in the museum context, the Japan Foundation created 5 5-year entry-level positions at a number of institutions in the United States. Similarly, the Ishibashi Foundation has also generously funded a series of 2-year assistant curatorships at the Museum of Fine Arts. The current holders of these positions have coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, have largely been graduates of the JAWS program. In 2014, the Tokyo National Museum established the Curatorial Exchange Program for Japanese art specialists abroad, Planning Committee. It was a response to the ADC's call for a program that could create a network of Japanese art specialists and other museum staff members whose work involves Japanese art from North America and Europe so that information and curatorial practices could be more widely shared. Funded through the Agency for Cultural Affairs, the Tokyo National Museum program supports an annual public symposium, curatorial workshops, and excursions and specialist meetings. And the topics for this symposia have been challenging. They've included the promotion and utilization of Japanese art in American and European museums, exhibiting Japan, the renewal and renovation of Japanese art galleries abroad, reinventing Japanese art through museum experiences, and last year, the arts of Japan in a global context, beyond Orientalism and Occidentalism. With the endorsement of the ADC, the Japan Foundation has invited approximately 10 modern and contemporary curators from the US to Japan every year to provide the opportunity for a useful exchange of information, networking, and collaborative exhibition developments with their Japanese colleagues. With the target participation of US curators who are not Japanese art specialists, the project was initiated with the aim of raising a greater interest in Japan and introducing Japanese art to the United States, as well as promoting bilateral arts exchanges. And similar to the Tokyo National Curatorial Exchange Program, there have been a variety of programs where curators have been going to look at different programs and exhibitions. And through these collaborations, there have been a number of exhibitions that have been organized in the United States, including one, which you see here on the screen, of Ishiyuji Miyako's post-war shadows at the Getty Art Museum. The ADC has also recommended the establishment of a bilingual digital clearinghouse of information about U.S.-Japan arts activities called the International Network for Japanese Art, or INJA. It has envisioned the website as both centralizing and expanding specific resources, including information on curatorial and conservation exchanges, exhibitions, and collections. And we hope that this website will also provide information on procedures and preservation for U.S. collections of Japanese art, both public and private. And most importantly, we hope that this website will provide a secure LinkedIn-type platform for sharing information and communication among arts professionals in the field of Japanese art. And I urge you, if you're interested, to attend a symposium that will be held on Friday afternoon at the Kyoto National Museum, in which we will be investigating how this website might serve as the focus of future international efforts in researching, presenting, and promoting Japanese art. As the Japanese art field has begun to address the needs of the next generation of curators, we've also had to consider the needs of the next generation of audiences who often require new models for global engagement with Japanese art. And so before we go on, I'd like to just mention very briefly as background different models that have been adopted in the past. The earliest model is that of the Victoria and Albert Museum, which you see a picture on the screen, which was very influential in institutions as diverse as the Museum of Fine Arts Boston, as well as the Tokyo National Museum. Following this model that the South Kensington Museum or the Victoria and Albert had developed, primacy was given to displays organized by materials and techniques so that the public could be interested in design and thereby develop local industry. At the South Kensington Museum and others in the West, such as the Museum of Fine Arts, the earliest purchases were made purely for design inspiration. Even though museums might be interested in non-Western art, they did not really attempt to give any context for the objects. And in this way, curators were not required to have any knowledge of Asian culture or Asian languages. However, in the first years of the 20th century, European museums, primarily those in Germany, began to adopt another model, the Kulturgeschichte model, which has been defined in the words of the art historian Kathleen Curran as a methodology aimed at situating objects historically within their own original cultural context, alongside religion, politics, philosophy, and science. And the Museum of Fine Arts was one of the first institutions to examine this new German model when it constructed its building on Huntington Avenue in 1909. And it was also part of an ongoing study by the Department of Japanese and Chinese Art under Okakura Kakuzo to underscore the importance of each object's context. Of course, interpretations of this type required curators to have sufficient knowledge of not only Japanese art history, but literature, religion, and other subjects. Now let's look at some of the new models that have been discussed in the curatorial exchange forums at the Tokyo National Museum. Some have been juxtapositions of contemporary and more traditional collections, and I give you 3 examples here that have been discussed at the forum. And one of the primary attractions for curators who have worked in this way is that this type of presentation, juxtaposing contemporary and traditional, has disrupted the binary distinction between traditional and contemporary that relegates the works in older modes of presentation to Asian departments, while those in a more international style belong to departments of contemporary art, often divorcing them from their cultural background. other exhibitions that have been discussed, and European and US curators have brought attention to works that have not historically been part of the Japanese canon. For instance, shunga, or erotic arts, which have often been widely censored here in Japan, or conflicts of interest, art and war in modern Japan that took place at the St. Louis Art Museum, which looked at propaganda, such as 19th and early 20th century woodblock prints, illustrating Japan's imperial ambitions. Works of this time are rarely seen here in Japan. Today, as being discussed in these ICOM meetings, the nature of museums and their exhibitions is again undergoing profound changes, with greater emphasis placed on societal, political, and ethical issues. These topics will definitely require curators who have not different, but additional skill, will require them to have additional skill sets. Some exhibitions of Japanese art, particularly of contemporary work, have focused already on social issues, such as the one that we did on 311. However, the very organization of how we approach museum galleries is also being reconsidered. This January, at the Tokyo National Museum Curatorial Exchange Forum, our colleague Wiebke Schrappe of the MKG in Hamburg challenged the attendees to consider the model adopted by her institution in presenting Asian art. The curators there understand their East Asian galleries as a venue of transcultural negotiation. They are spaces of encounters with historic as well as contemporary East Asian art for local as well as international audiences. They focus on the global movement of objects, people, and ideas, rather than classifying objects according to epochs, geographies, art, and non-art. The MKG model is one that works well for a particular institution and a particular community. Different institutions will have to develop their own models, but the sharing of information by museum professionals has ensured that we constantly reevaluate our approaches to meet the needs of new generations of audiences. In conclusion, although many of the programs that the ADC incubated have entailed non-Japanese curators being provided more tools in order to present Japanese art in the context of their own institutions and communities, the nature of international collaborations, such as these ICOM meetings, means that there is open discussion about the larger presentation of Japanese art from multivalent points of view, from different areas of the world, not just Japan, and from different generations of curators and academics. And it is this type of inclusive presentation that will ensure that Japanese art is recognized as a global art. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I wanted to thank our speakers for raising some very compelling issues, a set of themes and issues concerning the management of Asian art collections and Asian art museums around the world. I wanted to summarize very quickly some of these issues. Dr. Christoph Lin started us off right away by introducing the problem of categorization and this history, especially in Europe, of categorizing Asian art collections as ethnology. And even though we as specialists have evolved in our understanding of Asian art, the structure of museums from their founding tends to continue, and thus there is a misalignment between the structures of museums we're dealing with in their own collections and how he's using ICFA, the International Committee of Fine Arts, as a platform to try to address this question of categorization, among other things. Professor Kawai Masatomo, his presentation underscores just how radically different the conditions for the display of Japanese art in the pre-modern period were with those today. We are talking about a society without a real culture of public exhibition, where things were shown in small, private, discrete spaces. For temporary occasions, one did not display an artwork for a very long period of time, but possibly just a day or two. Things like the mounting were appreciated along with the painting, which is often kind of cut out of our framework for appreciating paintings today, and so forth. And so his presentation really raises the question of how we negotiate between these traditional practices for the display of Asian art and contemporary museum practice. And Dr. Min-Jung Kim both introduced us to what has been going on recently to promote international exchange and among Korean art curators and for the study of Korean art collections, but also her own experience at the Powerhouse Museum, engaging a situation that I think many people are familiar with. This is a museum that has an Asian art collection with no seeming underlying logic of collection or categorization, and what to do with that, how to shape that thematically and interpretively. And it was very interesting to hear about her talk about the idea of a hybrid collection and to kind of pose different models of exoticism against one another in presenting this material. And we heard from Dr. Morse who about very specific strategies for the promotion and networking of Japanese art among curators and specialists internationally, those going on in the JAWS and Tokyo National Museum International Curatorial Exchange, for example, and also has led us through a kind of very wonderfully panoramic overview of different models of display, from the South Kensington to the Kunstgeschichte model to current paradigms of display and the museum that might be useful for the exhibition and conceptualization of Asian art going forward. And I think it's important to ask ourselves how ICOM can serve as a useful, meaningful vehicle for continuing the work of this networking and exchange of ideas and practices that has been incubating specifically within Japan, Korea, and elsewhere in the Asian world. So with that summary, I'd like to open up the venue to questions from the audience, comments, question and answers, and anything that might come to mind as a way of furthering this discussion. And we have microphones lined up in the aisle for those of you who might be interested. And I'm sure you have questions, but while we are waiting for you to approach the microphone, I thought we might, oh yes, sir. Maybe.
I'm just a member from Japan. I dare like to ask you a very vague question to the specialist. What would be the characteristics of the Asian art and its meaning in today's world?
Thank you. That's starting us right off with an easy question, I see. So I think maybe we can ask our panelists to address this question in any way they see fit based on their kind of very rich personal and professional experience grappling with the question of the problem of Asian art.
いいですか。私は老人ですからもう何を言ってもじきにいなくなるんで申し上げますけど日本はですね決して今私の説明でですね決して日本だけの狭いものではなくてですねもうご存知のようにですね7世紀以来ですね日本の文化財っていうか美術品の保存や維持っていうのは非常にグローバル化されているわけですね。それはもちろんあなたもご存知のように正倉院があったりですねそういうふうな形でグローバル化しておりましてそれを日本の風土の中日本の、美意識の中でどういうふうにして維持し活用していこうかという、そういう、我々の知恵があったわけなんで、この知恵を世界中で共有していくためには我々どうしなくちゃいけないかそして、昨日も博物館とは何かっていうようなお話がありましたけれども、そういう方向に向かってですね、アジアであるからというんではなくて、もっと我々は世界の一員として我々の持っている文化資産をどうやって活用しながらですね世界の中で貢献していくか そして美術館という一つの組織の中でそういう世界的貢献ということをしていくためには何があるか、昨日は少しちょっとポリティカルな話が多すぎたんで私にはちょっと理解できない部分があったんですけども、しかしそれも含めてですね、我々はおそらく過去の日本の人もですね、あるいはアジアの中国の人とか韓国でも同じようなことが行われていて、決して狭い東洋ということ、東アジアという観点で我々が文化を維持してきたわけではないと思うわけなんですが、他の皆さんはいかがでしょうか。
Well, I think it's very interesting. Professor Kawai mentions that in Japan, the exhibition, which has been a space in which Asian art from other parts of East Asia has been sedimenting from very early on, since the 7th, 8th century at least, it offers models of historical practice for this kind of space for transcultural negotiation that Dr. Morse talked about as a contemporary model practice at Hamburg and elsewhere for the study of Asian art. And I think it's the key word here is negotiation between traditional and historical models and the contemporary needs of art museums in Asia and around the world. That this is something, again, that we are attempting to develop and continuously evolve models of interpretation for through the networking, the kinds of structures for exchange that we've been discussing. Are there any other questions or comments from the audience concerning some of these? Yes, we have one over on this side.
Thank you, everybody. My name is James Fu. I come from China, and I work for the Geological Museum of China. And everybody knows there are so many amazing collections from China, but they belong to other museums all over the world, in UK, in USA, in Japan. And I know that is because of this situation, is because of the history. But my people living in China, they have strong wishes to see our history, to see our collections in our homeland. So is that possible in the future that so many museums, you can bring the collections from China back to our homeland year by year, city by city, for some special exhibitions, so that can help my people to see my history in my homeland? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we have 3 curators of Asian art who work overseas outside of Asia on the panel. So, Anne, would you like to say a few words?
Just speak. I work at a museum that has very large Asian collections that were put together primarily in the 19th century. And I have always viewed that it is my museum's responsibility to take care of those works of art, that they've been entrusted to us, and therefore it's also very important that we share those works of art. So I think one thing that my expertise is in Japanese art, but I think it has been actually very wonderful that my museum has been able to send numbers of exhibitions back here to Japan. It enables us to share the works of art that we do have. It also enables us to learn more about the works that we do. And it has created great bonds between institutions here in Japan and Boston. So yes, I do think it is possible. I think with the number of museums that are developing in China, if resources could also be put into these kinds of exhibitions, I think there'd be a lot of institutions in the United States and Europe that would be willing to share their collections again.
Thank you. And I think this is precisely one area where ICOM can make, I think, a big difference in making connections between curators and museum professionals working in Asia with those working outside in addressing issues like this, steward care, shared ownership, exchange of objects, and so forth between Asia and the rest of the world. Are there any more questions for comments from the audience? Yes, I see a hand raised there, sir.
私の英語ではちょっと誤解を招くような、質問をしてしまうかもしれませんので、ここは日本語でどうぞご勘弁ください。
He'll ask the question in Japanese.
Thank you. ミンジャン・キム先生が、先ほどおっしゃられておりました、エキゾティック、その文化に対するエキゾティックなその気持ちなんですけども、私2年間ほどニュージーランドの方で多くの外国の方々と友人となり、素晴らしい方々が世界中にいるんだなということを心から感動しました。そこでありとあらゆる宗教や価値観等で各民族においても違い等があると思うんですけども、そのお互いの文化に対するエキゾティックな感情というものは、そういった大小さまざまな溝を埋めるには足るものなのでしょうか。
Thank you for your question. That's a very interesting question. I was born and educated in Korea, so I'm very much Korean inside of me. But working and living in Australia, this issue is a daily issue for me. Meeting, in a Western context, living in a Western context. And people see me as an exotic Asian sometimes in Australia from Western perspective. And through this exhibition, they wanted to actually present, exotic is not only East, but when I lived in Korea, West was exotic. So through this exhibition, I wanted to play. It was more of the play rather than criticizing about the exoticism. And that's where I think it's a junction that we can actually come together and look at this issue of different cultures. That's why actually my small attempt to have this exhibition celebrating exoticism. Is that, yeah.
Thank you so much. 감사합니다.
A small moment of cultural exchange there too. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Anything we can address there? Yes, we have a question from the back there.
Hi, hello, thank you for your talks today. I'm a Malaysian student currently studying in Taiwan. I'm just wondering if there are any comments about collections about material culture, things that are kind of like not really included in the fine arts in Asian art museums around the world. Thank you.
Okay, a question about material culture. Actually, we'll ask Anne to start off, and we have.
I think the definition about what is considered art is very, very difficult one, particularly in the Asian context, because we do not, in displays, privilege paintings and sculptures in quite the same way that you might in Western art. And so it's also very challenging when one gets into the 19th century or even the Edo period. When you think about Japanese woodblock prints, they were as much part of material culture as we now elevate them to the fine arts. I have been involved at the museum in the celebration of postcards. We have a very large collection of postcards, and that has led to the collecting of many other kinds of visual cultural materials. But how to define what belongs in the museum and what does not belong in the museum is a very difficult question. And right now, to be quite honest, it's whether I respond to it visually or not. That's really the bottom line. But I mean, I'm hoping that there will be more discussions about this so we can talk about that particular issue.
Thank you for the word discussion, and I would once again like to promote membership in the ICFA. This is a platform for discussions of this kind, and it's a question of how to distinguish art from non-art, from what its meaning, how to put it on display and so on. It's not something that can be just ordered from above, but has to be discussed and has to be revisited over and over. It's not that we once create an eternal truth. Things aren't changed, the world is changing, and our view on art is as well. Please all join the discussion.
Thank you. So you've heard again, ICFA as a platform within ICOM for a continuation of these themes. And as we move towards wrapping up this plenary session, I think it's important to, recognize that we are not only addressing issues of conservation and care of Asian art collections in Asia and overseas, or the exchange of knowledge and know-how among different communities of curators around the world, but as we move forward in ICOM and elsewhere, to think about what Asian art and its care and the issues surrounding it can teach us or help us inform larger issues of concern to the ICOM and global museum community, like how museums can help contribute to a sustainable future, work towards disaster relief, can function as cultural hubs, and so forth. These are all questions that are being dealt with in the Asian museum world as well, according to, and sometimes in slightly different ways, according to the contingencies of societies in this part of the world. So as one set of issues and themes moving forward, I think this is one area that we can really draw kind of meaningful exchanges from and learn a great deal from what is going on in Asia and through the experiences of Asian art curators globally. Now, with that said, we're out of time for the plenary art session, so I'd like you to join me in thanking our panelists again for their presentations. Please give them a big round of applause. And we'd also like to thank you for coming to attend the panel and to thank the ICOM organizing committee for all their work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for moderator and the speakers. Lunch is available in the annex hall. Please do not hesitate to ask our staff you have difficulties in finding your way to the lunch venue. Shuttle bus bound for satellite venue Inamori Memorial Hall is available at the entrance of annex hall for every 15 to 30 minutes. It will take approximately 20 to 30 minutes from ICC Kyoto to satellite venues. Please plan enough time to get to the satellite venues for international committee meetings. If you have used a receiver for simultaneous interpretation, please return it to the staff at the entrance. Thank you very much for your participation. Moderator, speaker nomination.